Hello everyone, this is video 2 for lesson number 12, friction. In video 1, we have discussed about what is friction, how friction is caused and the different factors on which friction depends. Today we will study the different types of friction. Okay, so there are 3 types of friction, that is static, sliding and rolling friction. Static means when the object is not moving, sliding when the object has just started to move, and rolling when the object is rolling on the surface, then this friction acts. So let's study each friction one by one. Before that, just see the slide. It will give you a comparison of all the 3 types of friction. When there is no motion, then which friction is acting? It is static friction. When sliding as the name is suggesting, it's moving, then which friction is acting? It is sliding friction. And when something is rolling, like a ball is rolling or you are throwing something during skating and all, so which friction is acting there? It is rolling friction. Let's start with the static friction. Static friction is the force required to overcome the friction that the object is at rest. When the object is at rest and force is being applied to overcome and the object is not moving because of the static friction. Okay. Now friction is caused here in this picture is a measure of static friction. One more thing to be kept in mind, that static friction come into play when the object is moved, means when some external force is being applied, then this friction come into play. Here again you can see there is a box, the push force is being applied. So which friction is acting? It is static friction. It is just about to move. The force is being required to move the box. So what is static friction? It is the maximum frictional force which is present between two objects when one object just tends to move. It is not moved, but it has just trying to move or slip over the other surface. And it is a kind of a starting friction because the object tends to start to move. It is not actually moving. Keep this thing in mind. The object is not moving. It is just about to move. So this friction is coming into play, and this friction is maximum. We will study how. Next is sliding friction. Sliding friction is the force of friction between two surfaces which are in contact of one of them, and where one of the surface is just sliding over the other. That friction is known as sliding friction. Here you can see the box. Force is being applied to move the box, to slide the box. This is a sliding friction. Here also you can see the frictional force is acting in this direction and the book is moving in the downward direction. Okay. So sliding friction come into play when the object moves along the surface of another object. Such movement is called slide. And sliding friction is the force that opposes the movement of a slide. Means the object is moving and that friction which is coming into play is sliding friction. Sliding friction is also known as kinetic friction. Okay. Remember this thing. The force required to keep a body in motion is less than the force required to start a motion. Okay. Means static friction is more than sliding friction because irregularities on the surface of already moving object do not get sufficient time. When the object is moving, the entangleities, irregularities are not getting time to entangle with each other. And when the object is stationary, is in case of static friction, the entangles are being in larger number. Therefore, sliding friction is less than the static friction. Okay. So these are the differences between static and sliding friction. When two surfaces are in contact, they are not moving and a force is applied to move. Then that is static friction. Kinetic friction is a friction that acts on two surfaces which are moving. Static friction has a maximum, and as long as force applied that does not exceed this maximum, the two surfaces will not move. In sliding friction, the type of friction has a constant magnitude. The magnitude will be constant unless and until there is a change in the speed with which the surface is moving. Next is rolling friction. Rolling friction, you can see here the ball is rolling on the ground, it's moving, so here it is rolling friction. The person is carrying this much weight through the wheels because of rolling friction. What is happening here? The friction is acting in direction and push or force is applied from this way. Here, due to the wheels or rolls, the amount of friction decreases. Okay, the force of friction between two surfaces when one of them is rolling on the other, then which friction is coming into action? It is rolling friction. Rolling friction is much smaller than the sliding friction. You can see this, a person is lifting this much weight, is dragging. He is having problem in dragging this, but if he applies wheels under this trolley, he can easily drag them. Why? Because rolling friction is very less than the sliding friction. It is decreasing the area of contact between the trolley and the floor here. Simple. One more activity. This is activity 3 from your textbook. If you are dragging the book, it will cover certain distance, but if you put pencil beneath the book, then what you will observe? The book will move easily. Why? Because rolling friction is smaller than the sliding friction. So what happens? Rolling reduces the friction. Okay, that is why all the vehicles have wheels and ball bearings are being used where rotatory motion is required, and these rotation decreases the amount of friction also. So when an object rolls over the other surface, the resistance to this motion is called rolling friction. It is always easier to roll than to slide an object. Rolling friction is much less than the sliding friction. So if we talk about the largest friction, the maximum friction is due to static, then sliding, and then rolling. The least friction is offered by rolling friction. This much for today. Thank you so much.